you've got all of Romans 5 under your belt, you're ready for us to tackle it. This is some of the hardest stuff. And in fact, we've been doing contrasting words. All our words are off the cross. Well, I've got some here. Because we're going to be seeing some contrasts. That's what all this is about. We're looking at Romans 5, verses 12 through 21. We're going to try and take a whole section, but I think we're just going to read a couple of verses and let everybody have a chance to read through it on their own.
I think so.
Do you remember some of the contrasting things that people should listen for? On the one side, there's going to be
Death.
and on the other side,
Life.
life. On the one side, there's going to be
Sin.
sin, and on the other side, grace. Yeah, okay. I keep pointing to your side as the sin. Oh, let's try that around. Let's turn it around just a little bit. On one side, there's going to be Adam,
Yes.
and on the other side,
Jesus.
and there is going to be condemnation versus,
Justification.
and there is going to be disobedience versus
Obedience.
obedience. Sin is going to reign with death trying to control, but righteousness,
Righteousness.
is going to provide, instead of death, it's going to provide.
Life.
All right, so that's what people want to listen for, is these marvelous contrasts. And some of the contrasts that we've had so far are like law. It points out sin.
Yes, it is.
Okay, well, and especially, why don't you read, I think it was that last verse, that where law does not make us do right, but law, what?
The law was brought in so that the trespasses might increase, but where sin increased, grace increased all the more.
So we've got the law and the gospel, okay? And all of this is happening with Jesus. And instead of us being able to earn anything, actually we have death that we have to fight. And on the back of death, it should be life. But we have, instead of earning, it's a gift. So we're just going to put these three words up today. And we'll look at these contrasts just a little bit. Let's start with verse 12 first.
Therefore, just as sin,
Wait a second.
there,
Whenever there's a therefore,
there is
got
a before.
there is a before, okay? And actually, I think Paul is arguing everything through the first 5 chapters. Therefore, and now he's doing a marvelous capsule of whatever he said before. And you better believe he's going to have some more therefores after this. So I'm sorry I interrupted, but let's try.
Therefore, just as sin entered the world through one man, and death through sin, and in this way death came to all people, because all sinned.
I'm glad you changed it to people, because the Greek does say people. It does not say men, okay? It is not just men. That's funny. He didn't say sin is because of lawbreakers. He said sin is because of disobedience, okay? And we know that Adam had that one disobedience where he bit the fruit, you know. I didn't bite the fruit, so do I have a problem since Adam?
Yes.
Oh,
We all
what is the symptom of me having this same problem?
Death. Sin.
Well, no, you got it.
Death.
Death. All of us have to deal with death, and Paul is saying death is actually a symptom of a problem a disease, a dis-ease we all have. And all of us have it. Notice he doesn't name Adam until verse 14. But in fact, he doesn't say sin came into the world after the time of Moses when the law was there. He says sin was in the world even before Moses. You know, that the whole world had to deal with all of this. So Paul doesn't go back to lawbreakers being the problem. He goes back to there's something wrong inside of us. We have a big name for this in the church. We call it original sin. Okay? That this is the sin, not the fact that each of us has done something wrong, but that all of us have the disease because all of us have death that's coming up. So, how is God going to conquer this? There's where we're going to skip over to verse 15.
But the gift is not like the trespass. For if the many died by the trespass of the one man, how much more did God's grace and the gift that came by the grace of the one man, Jesus Christ, overflow to the many?
So going through his arguments so far, can we on our own be able to stave off death?
No.
We can't. So therefore, all of us have the disease. So if we've got the disease, if we have this original disease, if we have this sin, can we fix ourselves?
No.
So who is going to have to fix us?
God through Jesus.
And certainly I can earn that in some way.
No.
Okay, it's not. And that's why he uses this key word in verse 15. What was it?
Grace.
Well, he uses grace and
Jesus.
grace and but the sorry, verse 15. But the gift. A gift. What is a gift?
It is given.
Because you deserved it.
No.
Okay.
Just because.
Just because. And you need that gift probably. Okay. In the same way, God did this, and here's where our contrast is. We had Adam, who gifted all of us with some sense of disobedience, but we also have Jesus, who is God's gift in bringing life to us. And now we have the action of life, where the death action from Adam stemmed from disobedience going through and multiplied because the law just points out more. Now comes Jesus, where a gift is given to just one person.
Everyone.
Oh, it's given for humanity. Now we'll get into later on. Does that mean if the gift is given, that it is received and used? No. That's a different question. And how do we open the gift? We'll get into that later on too. Right now, it's just the point that judgment follows with condemnation, and we could be left just with that, but instead this gift somehow does something differently. So let's take a look at verse 18.
Consequently, just as one trespass resulted in condemnation for all people, so also one righteous act resulted in justification and life for all people.
So we have one trespass that started that whole path of condemnation. By the way, this is going to be another key word. If we could get it up on a tag, we'll put condemnation, okay? Condemned, okay? And we live with this sense of condemnation. But then God decided through one more act to start another action in history. And Paul sees right in Jesus Christ, God is starting a new act for all of us. A new act that we're invited to live. We're living between these. We're living between the act of Adam and the act of Jesus. And we're living with both of these actions in our bodies, in our lives in some way. And that Jesus is somehow going to reverse that control, that end of death for us. He is somehow going to be able to reverse that action, and it's a gift of justification in the face of condemnation that we may still feel. I shared a little story with you before, Kate, and I realized I forgot to bring it. You know, we sometimes tend to look at God's action and we just say, wouldn't it be nice if God just fixed up things of old? If God would just repair what was broken and busted. But God doesn't do that. God wants to start a new thing. And in fact, we'll be hearing that word quite frequently in Romans later on, that God is going to do something new in us. And I mentioned that I had one incident where I had a shirt, a beautiful clergy shirt, that I had unfortunately marked with a magic marker. And I would have looked at this shirt and just said, it's dead, it's destroyed, it's gone. God could have done the same thing with the mark on humanity, just said, it's done, it's gone, it just needs to go over to death. But the shirt was not easily, it could not be reclaimed in its old way. It couldn't be, just have the scar covered up in some way. But I had an artist who played with that scar, and he took and did something completely new with it. It has a beautiful picture of a dove that's carrying a branch on it. I'll see if I can find the shirt. It doesn't fit quite as well. That was another problem that changed. But to me, it was always standing out as an image as to what God did with us in Jesus Christ. That God could have taken us and said, to the trash heap, you're all done. You know, because that's what the law points out. Instead, we have a God who, as a marvelous artist with grace, he justifies the action in a new way and does something new with us. So we're in the process of seeing what God is able to do in Jesus for us. Where Adam intended to make a mark that wanted to tear us apart, Jesus instead makes all things new. I guess we can say.
See you later.